Welcome to the Icons with Rick Horrow. Each month we talk to industry leaders about their backgrounds, what inspires them, and what's on the horizon for their sport. We're in a boardroom in South Florida, great place to talk about the National Hockey League with its Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly and President and General Manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, Don Waddell. Let's get started by going inside the Icon with Bill Daly. Daly was born and raised in New Jersey and played football at Dartmouth. He received his Juris Doctorate degree from NYU School of Law in 1990. He was hired by the NHL in 1996 as Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs. Daly was the league's main negotiator during the NHL lockout in 2004, and he was named Deputy Commissioner in 2005. Daly is a Hockey Hall of Fame board member, President of the NHL Foundation, and on the Board of Directors for USA Hockey. He also oversees the NHL's participation in international hockey competitions. Daly lives in Bethesda, Maryland with his wife and 3 children. We talked with Bill in San Jose, California. Gary Bettman, who we all admire, said in one of his speeches as it relates to a strong league, strong, healthy franchises, a game that's competitive, compelling, and entertaining, great players, and people for our fans to connect with, and a great fan base. Where the NHL is today, does that all ring true? Where is the league in the context of all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he hits all the high points for sure. I mean, the success of any product, certainly a sports product, starts on the field or in our case on the ice. And our on-ice product has never been better. We have a very vibrant and passionate fan base. We have great players. We have people who care about the game, involved in the game. So the league's in a really good place. It's I can't, I've been with the league 22 years now. I can't think of a better time for the league.
Economic indicators, nobody really talks about franchise values until it's time to sell. If you invest in the NHL, by the way, you're making a lot more money than you're investing in the stock market. How do you feel about that?
I think NHL investment it's a good time for NHL investment. I think you've seen a lot of people recognize it's a good time to invest in our league, and I do think that the growth of the asset value of the sport is at an all-time high as well. So it's we're really pleased with with our expansion in Las Vegas and expansion in Seattle, and it shows the demand for NHL hockey at the ownership level as well.
Well, let's follow through with that for just a minute. We'll quantify real numbers. $2 million for the original 6 in '67, $50 million for the next 8 in 90-92, $500 for Vegas, $650 for Seattle. How'd you do it?
You know what? I think it all goes back to where we are now as a league and an entertainment product and an industry and an exciting time for growth. We continue to see a lot of opportunity for growth, whether it be through technology, whether it be through our international footprint, having events and growing our international business. We reached out into China, ventured out into China with a Chinese strategy over the last 3 years, and I expect to continue that. There's a lot of growth opportunity.
And then finally, for now, and then we'll talk about charity, media is incredible. You have great partnerships and no ceiling. You've got a $6 billion or so deal in Canada. You got an incredible deal with NBC. You got BAMTech, which is another investment opportunity broadly defined. And then you got all these other breakthrough media companies that want to use the NHL to propel you to the next level. You ought to be pretty happy with all that?
Yeah, I think we're very happy with all that. And you're right. It was transformational, I think, for our business. The last 2 national media rights deals we did, first with NBC here and then with Rogers in Canada. The BAMTech deal, as you mentioned. There are continuing growth opportunities in the media space. So many different ways to deliver content, and we look to take advantage of that. It's all about creating and encouraging diversity and inclusion in our sport at all levels of our sport, and it's something we take very seriously.
philanthropy for a few minutes. Hockey Fights Cancer. Talk about that program.
It's a program that's long-standing. It was initiated shortly after Gary got to the NHL. It's something our clubs embrace on a yearly basis, and something our players embrace on a yearly basis, something that's really important. It started with an initiative as a result of a player who was diagnosed with cancer at the time he recovered. We've had a number of ambassadors over the years suffering similar afflictions.
Scott Hamilton, for example, is right.
Yeah, right. Raised a lot of money over that time period. So I would say it's a foundational charity initiative for the league.
And you've transformed in a way, and maybe it was part of the overall vision anyway. The Hockey Fights Cancer Nights are done not just in NHL markets, but all over the country. Is it part of the desire now to create things at the league level and to make sure that they permeate all over North America?
Well, we've been doing more and more of those types of things, particularly with the recent advent of our Industry Growth Fund, which we administer jointly with our National Hockey League Players Association. It's a certain amount of money that's set aside, actually a fairly large amount of money that's set aside every year by our clubs and our owners, that we have been using to really fund grassroots efforts to grow the sport, charity efforts to grow the sport. And it's a real credit to our ownership to have the vision and the ability to do that, willingness to do that, but also to the people who are executing on the ground every day.
And one of the reasons why Bill Daly has been at this office for over 80 years is that he's nonplussed. The landing pattern, by the way, is maybe 20 feet, so we saw a jumbo jet about 15 feet away, but you wouldn't know it. Thank you very much.
That was a jumbo jet,
yeah,
for
it was
sure.
a jumbo jet. Gives you an idea about labor negotiations, ladies and gentlemen. He stays the course. Not changing the subject, but to stay on it. Environment, very important to a lot of your kids, frozen ponds and rinks in Canada, otherwise as well. How does the environment and the greening issues play into all this also?
Well, another initiative that really spearheaded originally by the commissioner probably about 10 years ago, wanting to make a difference in the environment, understanding the issues associated with artificial ice and the issues they raise. And we have an individual internally who is dedicated 24/7 to the greening issues and running our greening program, and Omar Mitchell. Something that's very, very important to us, something we consult with every club when they're designing arenas, something we work with our clubs on a regular basis, even with existing arenas with respect to environmental friendly practices, something very important to the commissioner in the league and the owners.
Diversity. We celebrate Willie O'Ree's long overdue acceptance and election to the Hall of Fame. He stands for this, but you all have done much more than that relative to diversity in the NHL and otherwise. Talk about it.
Yeah, hockey is for everyone, and yet another initiative that is we've done jointly with USA Hockey as a kind of flag bearer for that program, and it's all about creating and encouraging diversity and inclusion in our sport. At all levels of our sport, and it's something we take very seriously, and we think is important to the growth of our sport. We think it's important both to the fandom of our sport, but to participation in our sport. And I think it kind of dovetails with the grassroots efforts we're making in a lot of the inner city areas, making balls and sticks available to youth, so they get a grasp and an understanding of what our game's about and the principles of our game. And hockey is for everyone's been a driver for that.
Great segue, because balls and sticks are important, but facilities and ice are also very important. So the youth development programs, the Learn to Skate programs, the hockey development across North America, one of your more incredible initiatives of all of them. Talk about that.
Well, I think the rink development is something, again, we've been working on off and on over time, going back a couple of decades, certainly since I've been at the league. But I would say in probably the last 5 years, in far more concrete ways, that is also some of where we use our Industry Growth Fund to help fund clubs who want to partner on local ice rink initiatives to get more ice and make more ice available to youth. It is one of the barriers to our sport. We recognize that. We think you can play not only on ice but on hard surfaces as well, and the ice will come secondary, but obviously the more ice rinks the better, and that's important for us both in the United States but also in Canada. I think the results on the ice would suggest we have the most competitive balance we've ever had.
Where I come from, people don't expect much of the person, especially a young Latina. There were countless times where I was told that I wasn't going to make it, or that I was going to get my hopes up, because according to them, Mexicans don't play golf. But I just have one thing to say to them. They do now.
Just quickly to end, strong business, strong entrepreneurialism, look ahead to the future, a couple of issues. But you have a well over $1 billion franchise in Toronto. You have a net worth. You have a franchise in Florida that's at $300 million. You have tremendous efforts to level the playing field. How challenging is that?
You know, I think it's a challenge in any sports league, when the revenues in one market don't necessarily equal the revenues in another market, and that's why, particularly given the system we have with the salary cap, it's important to have a robust revenue sharing system, and we have one as part of our system. I think we share our again, with the foresight of our big market clubs, I think they know how important it is to make sure all the clubs in the league are competitive, that the league is competitive, that the competition on the ice is competitive, and that certainly is the thought behind the revenue sharing process, and I think it works. I think we, I think the results on the ice would suggest we have the most competitive balance we've ever had.
Finally, where is the NHL, and maybe more importantly, Bill Daly in 5 years?
Well, the NHL, I hope, will be at a place above where we are now, because I think the one thing I would say is we continue to grow, we continue to get bigger, we continue to get more popular every year, and I expect that trend will continue, and I certainly expect that it will continue. As for me, hopefully I'm part of that growth, so hopefully I'm still here.
Bill Daly with a fantastic look at all things NHL, including their big push to grow the game among younger players. Up next, we chat with Carolina Hurricanes President and General Manager Don Waddell. But first, let's look at the ultimate competition in the sport of kings, the gauntlet of polo.
Best players and the best horses in the world.
$1 million at stake.
What better name than the Gauntlet to describe the ultimate challenge of a team trying to win all 3 tournaments and become the Gauntlet champion?
For the next 3 months in South Florida, 9 teams will compete in 3 tournaments that'll make up the gauntlet of polo. The ultimate goal for these teams is sweeping all 3 events, which guarantees them the largest share of $1 million in prize money.
It's the most competitive set of tournaments in the United States. It's challenging the polo community to come forward with the best teams they can come forward with to see who can be the best. And that's good in any sport, and that's what we're trying to do for polo.
The field includes not only the best players in the world, but at least one player considered the best of his generation, Adolfo Cambiaso. But ultimately, it's a team game, with many personalities making up each squad.
Any good team is a multitude of details, but in polo, the depth of those details is astronomical because you're dealing with so many personalities. You've got not just 4 players on a team, you've got minimum 9 horses per player. So you're looking at 40 individuals that have to be coordinated in order to produce a superior performance.
One new component to the gauntlet this year is a charitable one, with USPA Global Licensing making a donation to the charity of choice of the final 2 teams. It's going to be a thrilling 3 months ahead in Florida for the gauntlet. Our next guest this month may be unmatched in his dedication and support for the sport of hockey. Don Waddell played minor league hockey for 14 seasons, appearing in just a single game in the NHL in 1981. He would have been part of the legendary Miracle on Ice squad in 1980 if he hadn't broken his leg in a pre-Olympics tournament. Waddell's been a coach and assistant GM for the Red Wings' 1998 Stanley Cup team and the Carolina Hurricanes general manager since 2014.
This is as close as I've gotten to ice in a long, long time, other than a martini. But Don Waddell, who is the president and GM of the Carolina Hurricanes, knows it, played it. Thank you for having me in your house.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for coming to Raleigh.
Absolutely. Well, this whole region is really exciting as a basketball region, but you're making it a hockey region. Talk a little bit about what you've done in a very short period of time to make these people love hockey.
Yeah, well, first of all, when Tom Dunn bought the team, we'd gone 9 straight years without making the playoffs, and you can't count on wins and losses just to draw fans. And so we were part of the community before, but we had lost touch with the community. Everybody knew who the Hurricanes were, but nobody cared about the Hurricanes. And so we really made a conscious effort to really go back out in the community with our players, with a lot of things we do through our foundation, and really touch the fans. And we do a lot of interaction at the games with our fans, so fans get an opportunity to come down to the locker room, meet players, all that, and that goes a long ways in this sport.
Well, we'll talk about the philanthropic aspect of how you touch the fans in a minute, but Peter Kamanos, obviously a hero. When the Stanley Cup was here a while ago, everybody remembers the Hartford Whalers flags and the Hurricanes. But then when you say lost touch with hockey and the Hurricanes, is it gradual? Did it just happen because you didn't make the playoffs? What was the deal?
I think after the the tough economy after '09, in that era, and the team started to go into the slump, and then we had the work stoppage after that. Hockey wasn't important to anybody anymore. As you said, we live in this triangle area. We were huge basketball with UNC, Duke, and NC State. Yeah. So a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar, and we had to reach back out and reconnect with our fans. And it started back when Pete still owned the team, of course, but it's taken to another level since Tom's bought the team.
Clearly, but also, and you talk to some of the NHL folks relative to everybody in the Sun Belt, and you remember the lockout, the work stoppage, ironically, after the Lightning wins the Cup, and it's like, well, that's one of our weakest things is going to be how do we regenerate the Sun Belt? And I assume part of your bringing it back is now we bring it back stronger, we are more competitive, the economic structure makes us more competitive. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, certainly, the league has done a good job from revenue sharing and the continue to grow sponsorship dollars. Local revenues, we couldn't survive ourselves. There's just no way if we didn't have the national revenues. So, I think it's important to recognize what the NHL's done, Gary Bettman and his team. But saying that, now it's up to us to continue to grow our local revenues. Having a run to the conference finals certainly helped, but you can't count on that every year. Like I said, if you take the 32 teams in another few years in the league, math says you're going to make the playoffs every other year. You might make it 3 or 4 years in a row, but you could miss it 3 or 4. So you have to try to build a product that people are proud to come to, but also feel that this is their team. And, being here 20 years now, we're starting to get the first baby boomers now that are coming out, and citizens in our community that grew up with it, because not very many people here grew up with hockey. Yeah. People move from other places, a lot of loyalties to other cities, but now we got that wave of that new age where they're were fans of ours as kids, and they continue to be fans. We got good, kind-hearted players that enjoy being out in the community, and it's really worked well for us.
philanthropic aspects of giving back in this region, how important is that to you?
Oh, it's huge. You know, it's a way for us to give back to the community. You know, they support us. And there's so many ways that we can do that. You know, we do so many fundraisers using our players, obviously. Players draw attention and raise a lot of funds. You know, every year we've given over $500,000 in cash alone, just in through our foundation, not counting what the team does, and then, you know, over $1 million in kind through tickets. You know, we give a lot of things to a lot of charities that we can't directly support, but they can go out and raise money to help support their charities. So, you know, we've been recognized as one of the top givers in the community, and we're very proud of that.
And you should continue to be. It's an obvious way to continue to generate fan support. What kind of message do you give to your players? Is it you involve high character players, you know they're going to do the right thing. You send a signal that it's a very important part of what management asks for players to get involved in the community, a little bit of both. How do you inspire player participation?
Yeah, certainly you need your leaders to be people that are willing to do this. And I don't have one guy in that locker room that I couldn't go ask, hey, can you go do this for me today at a school or a hospital? We got good players. We're very fortunate that. And I also remind the players that every person that comes in here and spends $1, they're getting 50 cents of it. So the more people we, through the economics of the CBA. So, you know, the more people we draw, it's better for financially for everybody. But our players do it. We got good, kind-hearted players that enjoy being out in the community, and it's really worked well for us.
So I was all excited. I looked at Herb Brooks, I looked at the '80 Olympic team. I was ready to ask you for your gold medal. What happened?
Well, a couple of things happened. You know, I was fortunate to lead up to 2 years prior, going to the sports festivals, and then joining the team in '79, '80, and then in Lake Placid, I broke my leg. I broke my leg the first time at the sports festival, then came back with the team and got hurt again. And you know, I always say, you know, things happen for a reason. They moved Dave Christensen back from being a forward to a defenseman, and it probably was a big reason why they won the gold medal. So it was a lot of fun to be with that team. A lot of still good friends on that won the gold medal, and you know, I'm proud that I could say at least I was a part of it.
And you're reminded every moment by some idiot that keeps asking you that question, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's you know, I was in the book, in the movie. You know, I got everything but the gold medal, so it's all worked out well.
All right, so your golden moment, as far as the NHL is concerned. One game for the Kings in '81. So you look back and do you say, man, that was a great memory, or I should have been, you know, a regular with the Kings? It should have been a stepping stone for more?
I think at that point you don't recognize it's only going to be one game, but right. When you look back at it, I'm honored to have played that one game. It was actually against the Rangers back in 1981 in the old LA Forum, and you know, I have the opportunity to play that one game. Say you play in the NHL. Been able to coach in the NHL, be a GM and president in the NHL. I'm very proud to be able to be part of this league for so long.
Well, and it gives you the management experience, your diversity and experience, and this is a topper. So you buy into or you become part of a management of Toledo franchise. It folds. Then you buy another kind of franchise. What franchise is that?
Well, I've been all over. So we went from Toledo to Flint, Michigan.
But before that, didn't you have a toilet?
That's where you're going with that.
That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. By end of my playing career there, I decided to get into private business.
Yeah.
And it was
what kind of business?
It was happened to be the portable toilet business.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about that, huh?
And a lot of people don't know that story, and I could give you all the slogans. Probably not real good for TV.
No.
But we had a lot of fun with it, and kept it for about 4 years, even as I went into more management, and was actually got my life going from a financial standpoint.
Well, and then Flint, and then becoming part of NHL and all. I guess my point is your diversity of experience in different management capacities in different kinds of industries prepares you for all of this. Hockey knowledge important, but this is really business. This is marketing.
Yeah, the business is so big now. You know, we're talking about, you know, we're a $130 million company as far as just from the hockey team standpoint, and we also run the arena here, which is another $100 million. So it's big business, and I've been very fortunate because I've had some private businesses myself, still involved with some private businesses on the side, but being able to run an NHL franchise of this caliber is exciting and challenging. I always say every day is a new challenge, a new opportunity.
Playing, coaching, managing, running a franchise. What's kind of the biggest power of sports moment you look back that had an influence on your life?
Well, I think it all started back in college. I went to a school that was first year Division I hockey, and we were all freshmen. at Northern Michigan University. My senior year, we went to the NCAA finals and lost in the finals to build that program. And I think that led me to believe you can accomplish whatever you set out to be. And then I was very fortunate to win a championship in the minors, my first year pro. And again, once you have a taste of winning, there's nothing like it. So you're always driving yourself to be the best you can and try to win whatever you're competing for.
What an incredible journey Don Waddell has had in running one of the best franchises in the NHL. That's all for the Icons with Rick Horrow for this month. Next month, we'll talk to the co-founder of the Orlando Magic, Pat Williams.
And above anything I remember is this, Rick. Every morning at breakfast, Dad, are you going to be at our swimming meet today? Dad, are you going to be at our game tonight? Dad, are you going to be at my cheerleading? That was the most important thing to them, that I be there watching them in their events. I still remember that to this day.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Icons.